So we got a couple small rants that we want to talk about in this intro before we get into the main bulk of our podcast, our split intro. Now that we're probably almost 20 minutes into this.
We'll try to make it quick.
That's what Gapper said.
She's like, ouch.
That's the reason why they call me that, baby.
I'll try to make it quick. No promises.
All 5 inches right here.
The Gapper Man.
So first we're going to talk a little. Shane has a little bit of a gripe that he wants to get off his chest.
Yes. So we tend to follow Collider. They pop up on social media. Matt was the first one who introduced me to them. They bring up a lot of really cool things. John Campea. I tend to lean more towards his opinions on a lot of things. Batman vs Superman, if you watch their review of that, he's defending a lot of it, and he even makes a comment one time. He goes, did you guys even watch this movie? Because it sounds like you're not paying attention. So I really
about Man of Steel.
Yeah,
like they got their heads,
Man of Steel. Yeah,
Man of Steel. They got their heads too far up their asses.
Right. Yeah,
so they couldn't see the screen.
Yeah. So I made it a point to reach out and look on some of his own YouTube things instead of just on Collider. But anyways, recently he had a quick rant of IMDb and why their scoring system sucks. And I found this really intriguing because just recently we did our Rotten Tomatoes Part 2, and it was started a lot because a woman on Collider,
Perry Nemiroff.
Thank you. Oh, nice. She partially works for Rotten Tomatoes or something?
She's a critic on Rotten Tomatoes.
Okay, she's a critic on Rotten Tomatoes, and she's defending it, talking about
the Brett Ratner quote.
Yeah, and talking about basically how he's an idiot, but she can't even explain.
They can't take his quote serious, whether or not they're going to even take him serious.
Yeah,
what he said.
Well, because his movies suck, and blah blah blah,
and he sucks.
Right. Yeah. So I took exception to the fact that John Campea made it a point to say, no, this is why you cannot trust IMDb's score. And basically he goes on to say that any Joe Schmo with a computer can get onto IMDb, give it a low rating. And to me, I've always felt that IMDb was a lot closer to anything. It's a lot more simplistic. It's a star rating out of 10, and a lot of times it is almost a mirror image of Rotten Tomatoes fan rating.
Right.
And a lot of times the argument seems to be, well, Rotten Tomatoes scoring system works because if you ask 10 of your friends, and they were 10 of the critics, they're going to give it this score. Well, no, that would be a lot closer to the fan rating.
Right.
At which IMDb to me is usually a lot closer to that. I think with Split, it was 7.3, which is a little bit lower than what I was expecting. But still, I think it's usually, it's never like this crazy, like they give it a 1 or, it's fucking 28% or whatever, that Rotten Tomatoes.
Well, that's what he was talking about with this. So we had a text message going back and forth.
We did.
and that's kind of where this stemmed from. But what he was talking about was there was a movie that people just thoroughly disagreed with it about how it was produced or how it was done in some manner. Mm-hmm. And a lot of people were just going on giving it 1 stars, even though they didn't even see it. Because only 900 people actually saw the movie in a pre-screening, but yet there's thousands of reviews. And that's what he was complaining about.
Yeah. Yeah.
I can't remember what it was. It was like the Born in China or something about a panda, I think.
Right.
Something.
Yeah, which is fair. However, the majority of movies, and I think, once that does come out, that, maybe if it has or hasn't already, I'm not really sure. But
well, I think it came out in theaters this weekend.
Okay, so right. I'm sure that will eventually change. Going back to what the point that you brought up on the Rotten Tomatoes Part 2, that you said Rotten Tomatoes should switch it to more of a Amazon style. And to me, that is exactly what IMDb has done. And no, it's a lot of people don't follow it as closely. But if you look at if you're looking at a product on Amazon and it has 2 reviews, both of them are 5 stars, you're somewhat going to be a little bit more skeptical. Because, okay, that's only 2 people who have experienced it, as opposed to a product that has 200,000 reviews,
right.
Or whatever, and then, and it has 4 stars or something like that. Then you get a real solid scope of how many people, have reviewed this product. So I think IMDb is very similar. And I think they even tell you this is how many people have reviewed this. So you can look at it and go, okay, a couple thousand people have reviewed this movie as opposed to how many people probably would see it. And you can kind of look at it that way. And yeah, it is kind of a mess up scoring system if it is a very small microscope of of an example. But I think over time, once people start reviewing and actually give legitimate reviews, then, it most of the time it has flushed out to something, to a score close to what I would expect anyways. It's never been a 28% or, a god-awful thing. And maybe in the one example that he had of why, he thought IMDb was shit and you shouldn't go off of it.
Right. See, the thing is that the lower score could be manipulated by just anybody. On Rotten Tomatoes, there's official critics, and that's what they say, and people signed up through the fans question. It's people that are signed up with Rotten Tomatoes and have been briefed and whatever.
Sure.
They've gone through a process anyway to become able to vote on the fan part of Rotten Tomatoes. And with
the fan has, I think you just have to have an account.
Yeah.
Right?
Well, yeah, you have to go through a process to get an account and stuff like that. Yeah, I mean, yeah, but it just still. Well, I guess you're right. Okay, I guess
I think it's kind of like that with IMDb too. If you
Right.
link it to your Facebook page, that's a simple login form, and I'm pretty sure you can review after that.
I guess that's something we got to question.
So-
We got to figure out maybe.
Yeah.
but
Yeah, but for me, my gripe came because they were defending Rotten Tomatoes and then shitting on IMDb. And yeah, you can use whatever rating system you want, but I was like, okay, you
the
made
comic
it.
movie mark system is the best.
Exactly. But you make it a point, you set some time out to, and which we have done, and to, shit on Rotten Tomatoes as well. But the Rotten Tomatoes to me is a lot more convoluted. And yeah, you can say that you have to be a critic to, on their critic rating, you do have to be a legitimate critic, and they pull it from your website. You do have to go through this long process, but they do the same exact thing. If there's a shit ton of official critics that don't like it, boom, the score drops.
Right.
So IMDb to me has always made a lot more sense, but
Or even the fan rating on Rotten Tomatoes.
yeah, exactly.
Is becoming a little bit closer. I would almost encourage people to look more towards the fan rating of Rotten Tomatoes than the actual their critic percentage.
Consensus.
Yeah, their critic percentage. I mean, even though that's not what's stamped on the DVDs or Vudu, it's always that critic percentage or whatever, which ones liked it, which ones didn't.
Yeah.
That's always the one that shows up, and why that's taken serious at this point anymore, I have no idea. And why people continue to defend it, I have no idea.
Yeah. Well, and a lot of times if you look at there's a huge gap usually, not always, but in certain movies, there will be a huge gap between the Rotten Tomatoes critic score and the fan rating.
Right.
And like you said, if you lean more towards the fan rating, it'll probably give you a better
scope of what the actual movie is like.
Well, we actually kind of give you in our split review, we talk about the Rotten Tomatoes score, and it's funny how immediately when you go into, I think you're in the app or
no, I was on their website.
Okay, the mobile version of their website, and they only give you one good review, and then you scroll through and there's like 6 or 7 negative ones.
Yeah, but it's got a 75% on Rotten Tomatoes.
Yeah, so it's just weird how it's laid out and how certain things. You think it would be like an even number. Okay, here's all the positives, here's all the negatives. Like you,
3 positive, 3 negative. Or something.
Right? Yeah, the example you gave with Amazon, you can click 5, 4, 3, whatever.
Yeah, I don't know what Rotten Tomatoes end goal is on this stuff, but I think the percentage thing is just out of whack and out of date, and eventually we'll probably do a Rotten Tomatoes Part 3, probably whenever Wonder Woman comes out.
Probably.
So because we'll end up talking about that.